Hey, Steve, I'm pretty pumped about this show we've got today. We've got a great guest on today, the 2019 United Kennel Club UKC Coonhound World Champion, owner and handler Lane Denny.
Yeah, that's going to be a great show today, Chris, with this young man. What a resume he has for a guy his age. And he's going to be here to talk about his experiences with hounds and competition and man, on the major stage in both the PKC and the UKC registries. And it's just going to be a great podcast, a lot of information, a lot of insight into what makes this young man run. And I'm really looking forward to it myself.
Well, he certainly has accomplished a lot with his competition coonhounds in the short time that he's been involved in hounds. And we're going to drill down into that biography, if you will, as far as his professional resume. And I think our listeners will be extremely interested and excited to listen to this, seeing a young man that focused and accomplished it's been a lifelong dream of mine to be able to win a world championship. After several years, I kind of lost the fire for it, or maybe it's because I never achieved it and my interest shifted to other places. But you know, what a resume, like you said.
Well, yeah, and this is kind of a Cinderella story, really, of a kid, you know, and how he acquired this dog that he's been just absolutely dominating in several different categories or degrees. And it's just a great story. I mean, I've read some of the pre-articles that came about as a result of his prior wins, and without spilling the beans on what all this young man has done, it's just great to have him aboard, and I'm looking forward to peeling back the layers of this phenomenal story about a young man and his dog.
You're gonna peel it back like an onion?
Like an onion, man. A sweet onion.
A sweet Vidalia.
Yeah, and having known people from that area of the country, it's my wife calls it Vidalia. I said, no. It's Vidalia.
That's right.
You got to have that vi in there, like a Viennese sausage. You know what that is?
A Viennese. You betcha. Right. You got to dig that one out of the center and then dump some hot sauce in there, and then you get a little hot sauce in every Viennese.
Oh man, sounds good. Those are always great to break out at about 2:00 in the morning on a coon hunt.
Yeah.
You know, if you do it early in the hunt, the guys will kind of turn their nose up at it. But you wait till about 2:00 and peel open a can of those things, and man, they'll jerk them out of your hands.
That's right. That's right. They don't take up much space, and what a healthy snack.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Floor sweepings.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, we're here to talk about Lane Denny today. I'm really excited to have him on the podcast. I think when people hear his story, we reveal to the world the character that this young man has. He's definitely somebody that we want to recognize and celebrate his success in competition coon hunting, and drill down into his story and let the world know who Lane Denny is.
Well, absolutely, Chris. And, you know, this event that he's just won, the UKC World Coonhound Championship, started back in 1978 in Beaver Dam, Ohio. I was fortunate enough to be a UKC field representative at that time, the very first year. And I was not at the finals that year due to my day job. But, man, this thing is clicked on now for 41 years. And so the recent World Championship was the 41st. Just thinking we've had as many World Championships almost as we've had presidents in this country. So that's kind of interesting. But and it was a long time before we had a female win the hunt. And It was the Crowley's Louise female that won it out at Montgomery City, Missouri, at John Wick's place there. That was the very first one, and since then there's been several. But this is an exciting story for sure, Chris.
Yeah, I can't wait for our listeners to hear this interview. So, hey, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Houndsman XP and talk about how our listeners can be more involved with Houndsman XP. We've got some exciting things coming up. We're getting ready to start taking donations for the Freedom Hunters hunt that's going to take place in northeast Arizona on the Navajo Nation. Our Gold Star family recipient of this hunt is Tanner Babb, and Tanner's father, we'll just recap this story real quick. His father was a United States Marine that I served with in the Gulf War, the original Desert Storm. And then Brock, he discharged from the Marine Corps, but after 9/11, he felt the call to go back. And during his duty over there, he was killed in action when his convoy was ambushed, and he manned a machine gun that was mounted on one of the vehicles. Instead of running for cover, he provided cover for his fellow Marines to be able to get the advantage on the enemy, but in the process, he was killed in action. So, to me, this is something that houndsmen and sportsmen of all stripes should be willing to back. I mean, celebrate this and help us make this an epic hunt for Tanner Babb.
Well, Chris, I certainly want to do that. You know, my heart just is so very heavy every time I see an announcement of one of our fallen heroes. And for us as hounds people, as a community, to be able to come together with Freedom Hunters and provide this awesome opportunity for Tanner on behalf of his father, Tanner himself serving as a Marine. It's just an awesome opportunity, and I think you have some information to tell our listeners how they can get involved.
Oh, absolutely. Freedom Hunters is a nonprofit organization. It's a national organization, and they have a website. If you Google freedomhunters.org, their website will come up, and there is a special donation button on there where our listeners can help support this dream hunt for this young man, this young Marine. And that's the interesting part, is Tanner became a Marine himself. Even after the tragedy that he went through, he felt the call to serve our country. So not only is he a Gold Star family member, but he's also a veteran United States Marine. And I just can't, I'm just overwhelmed. I can't think of a more qualified recipient for this initial hunt and partnership that we've got going on with Freedom Hunters. So if you go to freedomhunters.org, find that donation button, you can donate directly to this hunt. And I made a donation the other day just to test it out. And as soon as I made that donation, I got a confirmation back, and you get a receipt that you can use for tax purposes for donating to a nonprofit 501c3 charitable organization. So not only is it the right thing to do, but it's also an opportunity for you to get a tax deduction for being involved in this.
Well, Chris, I just am like you. I'm overwhelmed with this opportunity. I would urge our listeners, if you can give $5, give $5, and we'll thank you. And Tanner, I'm sure, will thank you, and Freedom Hunters as well. If you can give $500 or $5,000, whatever you can give at the level that you can support this activity. You know, we're going to be outfitting Tanner. We're going to be paying all of his expenses, including, you know, the guide with res hounds and all of that. It's going to be an all-expense-paid trip for him. Really an opportunity of a lifetime to hopefully harvest a lion over hounds. But we all need to really think about this. Perhaps we can do it in memory of a fallen hero in our own families. You know, I think of my Uncle Jack that's buried outside of Rome that fell, during World War II. And there are so many out there that, we could remember and just on their behalf, make a donation to Freedom Hunters. It's something that will pay huge dividends. You'll feel great about it, and you'll be helping one of our great servicemen to have a time of his life.
Exactly. And there's another way that you can support this hunt by indirectly supporting it, and that is by going to the W Hunting Supply website, clicking on Join the Fight page. If you haven't bought our latest gear yet, we've got a really nice leather patch cap that is available for purchase at W Hunting Supply, dusupply.com, and all those proceeds go to support this podcast and keeps us in the fight for hunters' rights and representing houndsmen across the country and being able to do projects just like this with Freedom Hunters.
Yeah, Chris, and it's a cool hat. I really enjoy mine. I was able to pick one up at Autumn Oaks, and I think everybody will enjoy this. It's really a nice-looking hat. It's got that nice leather patch with the "You follow your hound, I'll follow mine," and the Houndsman XP logo. Just a real neat deal, and man, we sure would appreciate you picking one up.
Absolutely, I can't agree more. I wore mine this morning in the woods, and it's a comfortable hat to wear. It's stylish. It's a good looking lid for your head. So, and you're going to need that hat here in a few weeks because we are approaching 50,000 downloads for this podcast. And in celebration of that, then we are going to do a special promotion. But in order to be involved, you're going to need a Houndsman XP hat. It's a limited supply, and you need to get that order placed now. So in a few weeks from now, when we hit that 50,000 download mark, then you can be involved in our promotion for Houndsman XP listeners. It's going to be an exclusive thing for our most serious supporters.
Yeah, did you mention where they can get the hat?
Yeah, you can get it on the Join the Fight page at dusupply.com. Our title sponsor is W Hunting Supply, and you need to go there. They're the exclusive dealer for all our merchandise.
All right, let's get it done.
Yep, let's get this interview done too, Steve.
I'm ready.
All right. Welcome to the Houndsman XP podcast. Steve, we've got an exciting guest for the show this week for our listeners. We've got the 2019 UKC World Champion, Lane Denny.
I've been looking forward to this interview ever since a few nights ago when I lost some sleep and witnessed one of the most interesting, exciting, and well-done play-by-plays on the internet of a final cast that I've seen in a long time. And I will toot my own horn a little bit there. I started those play-by-plays back many years ago, but man, I tell you, they've really progressed, and it was so exciting to witness this great win and a real close cast. So I think we've got a great show today with this young man for sure.
Well, thank goodness that Al Gore invented the internet so you could develop this play-by-play theory.
Oh yeah, Al's the man. Al's the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey Steve, I am gonna hand this off to you, and let you take the lead on this interview. You've been in touch, and this is really in your lane. I mean, as far as the World Championship, the development of that program, not only there but with multiple registries. So this is right in your ballpark, buddy.
Well, Chris, there's no more exciting time of year than World Championship time. It comes around in September and October, depending on the registries, and it's a culmination of a whole long year's work by a lot of these guys just to get qualified and get to the event. And I'd look back to 1978. I mentioned maybe earlier that was the first UKC World Championship, and there's been 41 of them now. But I don't want to get this. I have this be a history lesson. I want to talk to this winner. Lane Denny, how are you doing, son?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm just doing very, very well, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. I've read the articles that have been written about you in Pro Hound and in American Cooner magazines, and your story is really an exciting one. I know you probably haven't come down out of the clouds yet off this big win, and we want to talk about all that. But first of all, I'd like to know just a little bit, or let our listeners know just a little bit about who you are. How old a young man are you, Lane?
Yes, sir. I'm 23 years old.
23?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
23 years old. Lane, I'm going to jump in there real quick. So I spent my entire life dreaming, since a young kid, looking at those magazine covers and just wanting to have that kind of accomplishment in my life. I never did accomplish that. So I want to congratulate you on not only this win, but you've got a pretty good resume too. So I just wanted to throw that in there and tell you that I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me, and I sure appreciate that.
Well, Lane, now where do you live right now?
I live in Jay. I grew up here in Jay, and I've kind of stayed around here my whole life.
Now, Jay, that's a town in Oklahoma I have not heard of. I know where Claremore is, and I know where Tulsa is.
Sir.
You're in that general area, aren't you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm a little bit further north and east of Tulsa and Claremore. Jay's in kind of the far northeast part of the state here, and it's a small town south of Grove. I don't know if you ever heard of Grand Lake. It's kind of a big lake here, and that's kind of what this area is known for. But
I came through there last month, as a matter of fact, on my way to Arizona to bear hunt out there. Came right through your neighborhood.
Oh. That's pretty neat. Should have stopped in when we went hunting.
Yeah, I should have. I should have.
Well, listen, what do you, is coon hunting your job, or do you have another job?
No,
Lane? Sir.
I have a full-time job. I actually the past 3 years I worked for my brother. I tell you, I worked for him for 3 years. He has his own diesel mechanic shop there in Grove, and I was a diesel mechanic for him. And just recently, I've got a new job working for the Oklahoma Forestry Department, being a dozer operator. So I'm excited about that, and just ready to get that chapter started in my life. And like I said, I'm pretty excited about that. So,
well, you grew up on a farm there, didn't you?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I grew up on a small 90-acre farm here in Jay. I attended, middle school, and I've always been a real competitive type of person. And in middle school there, I played sports. I played football and baseball. And in high school, when I got into high school, like you said, I grew up on a 90-acre farm. So agriculture has always been a big, important role in my life. And in high school, I got involved in the FFA. Which really changed my life for the better. It kind of molded me into the person I am today. It taught me to become a leader, and not a follower. But I wanted to learn more about the agricultural industry in itself, so I joined the FFA there and got highly active in it. I showed cattle. I was on the livestock and horse judging team, it came. I was very fortunate. We had a very good agriculture instructor, and he made an impact on my life, besides just teaching me about the industry, like I said, I was very blessed to have that. After high school there,
what was his name, Lane? Let's give him a shout out.
Daryl Cunningham was his name. He taught ag here at Jay. I mean, he taught my dad, and you know, he's taught several generations. Without, you know, like I said, he needs a shout out for sure. That's he's one of the best agriculture instructors, in my opinion, in the state. I mean, he was a caring guy, you know, and he was truly passionate about the agricultural industry and the FFA. And like I said, he's taught several of us, and we've all been blessed to have been taught by him.
Well, I think you must still be walking in the clouds there, Lane. I've never heard somebody from the South that talked as fast as you are. So you're still wound up about this World Championship. That's for sure.
Yeah, yes, sir. I tell you, like you said, it's been a dream come true. It's something that every competition coon hunter wants to be able to experience, and I'm just blessed by the good Lord above that it was, you know, I got to experience it. So, like I said, I'm on cloud nine. If I'm talking a little fast, I'm sorry. I'll try to tone it down for you guys a little bit, but yeah, this is just a dream come true. It really is.
I love the excitement. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, for sure, Lane. Well, listen, Lane, let's try to build a little bit of a backstory here on you and your experience. Can you remember or describe the very first time you ever went coon hunting?
Oh, for sure, yes, sir. I remember it like it was yesterday. It's kind of a funny backstory behind coon hunting. I didn't know this until probably 5 years ago, but coon hunting, my dad, he grew up coon hunting, and well, my mom and dad, they were together in high school, and they lived 2 or 3 miles away from each other through the woods. Well, my dad always had hounds, you know, and he had hounds, and they none of them was real special the way he talks about them, but, you know, they'd tree possums and you know, just run deer and anything else. But my dad would actually leave before dark, and he'd turn his dogs loose, and he'd hunt all the way to my mom's house. It's just across the timber there a couple miles, and then he'd see her for a couple hours, and then he'd come home, and he'd hunt all the way home. But so coon hunting's been a part of my life before I even knew it, you know. So, but no, my dad, like I said, he hunted when he was younger. And he got out of hunting there for a while. Well, he was working at a pet food place here by the house called Simmons, and he'd worked with a guy named Jake Williams. Well, Jake was a coon hunter, and he got to telling Dad some stories and kind of reminded Dad, you know, of the good old days. And so Dad invited him out to go hunting one night, and it was on a Friday night. I had a friend over. I was 12 years old, so we was doing, you know, what 12-year-olds done. We was playing Xbox, and, you know, we didn't want to go outside. We was too interested in the video games. But but my dad, there was a knock on the door, and my dad, he answered it, and he told us to get our stuff on. We was going coon hunting, and I said, coon hunting? What in the world's that? You know, I'd never heard of it because my dad never even mentioned to me that he used to do it. And he said, don't worry about it. Just get your boots on. You'll enjoy it. And so wisely, I shut the Xbox off there and got my boots on. My buddy done the same. And I remember walking out onto the front porch there, and there stood a guy down there at the base of the porch. And I was trying to think what in the world he had on. He had a big old box on his side that had a light run up, or a cord that run up to a light that was on his head. And I said to myself, I thought, man, what in the world this goofy guy got on? You know, I thought, is he some kind of coal miner or something? And well, anyways, that was Jake. And you know, back then I didn't know, but now I know it was one of those night light, you know, box lights, and with the old 5100 head. And but we ended up getting in the truck there, and that farm that we lived on, it was about 90 acres. And it had a spring that run through it with good timber on it. And so we drove down to the spring there, and Jake, he unloaded this big, pretty English dog. I mean, just picture perfect is what you want in a hound. This dog was just a real good looking hound. And I fell in love with this dog just right as soon as I seen him. Cause I've always, you know, been a dog lover and always enjoyed animals. And well, you kind of throw a big pretty hound at me. I just loved him, you know. And well, this dog I later became to known as they called him Old Buck. And Buck, he was just a great dog, you know. He didn't have no papers or nothing like that, but he unloaded Old Buck there. And like I said, I fell in love with this dog, and that interested me, you know. And well, whenever he got his tracking system on and he led him over there to the edge of the hauler and cut him loose, when he flipped him loose down through there, I kind of lost interest. I thought, man, you know, there goes my buddy. But, you know, so I went back to throwing rocks and kicking dirt and, you know, just not even paying attention. And, I remember it like it was yesterday. Old Buck, the spring we sent him down a hauler to a spring, and he opened up down there, and the first couple of barks, you know, I heard him, but I didn't think nothing of it. And then by the time he barked 3 or 4 times, it was as if something just grabbed me by my shoulders and said, "Hey, dummy, listen to this." And I just zoned in on this dog, and with every bark this dog made on the ground, it would carry up that hauler, and it was like it was just hitting me in the chest, you know. I could not focus on this hound that was running this trackle. He went to opening down through there, and he run this coon for about 300 yards and let out a big, pretty locate, and I rolled over to a chop. And I tell you, it was like I said, every bark this dog made, it was like it was hitting me right in the chest. And there was something about it, you know. From then on, I was hooked. I went home that night, and I told my dad, I said, I've got to have my own dogs. You know, I've just got to have it. This is something that I want to do. So it was a pretty neat experience. You know, like I said, it was a feeling that I've never had before when I got it. And I tell you, I'm very blessed that Dad invited Jake over that night, you know, because it is, as you guys know, coon hunting is came to change my life dramatically. So.
Well, I'm sure that that's true, Lane, and your experience is a lot like mine. Mine was through my dad at a very young age. Now, how old were you when you went the first time?
I was 12.
12. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes,
well,
yep.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And I think that this hound hunting comes almost like it's in our DNA. When we're exposed to it, it's almost like a well-bred hound pup. The first time you show him game, you know, he just turns on. And I think a lot of us are that way. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You know, that's what I told somebody the other day. I said, you know, this coon hunting, it's kind of like a drug, you know, it gets in your blood and nothing can get rid of it, you know. And from that night forward, I always knew that I'd have a hound at my house, you know, and at the time I didn't even know what competition coon hunting was, but I just enjoyed coon hunting. And I tell you, it was like it hooked me, you know, from the very beginning.
Right. Well, what was the progression then to get you into, I know that you had success at the PKC Youth Championship, and we certainly want to talk about that. But what was it that got you involved into the competition? What was that progression there?
You know, after that time I went with Jake, it was, my dad got me a pair of pups, and I trained them, and none of them really was, you know, just nothing special. And so I saved up my money and I bought a blue tick from Corey. It was out of Corey Mills and stuff there in Southwest Missouri, and called him Old Bandit, and I hunted Old Bandit, and you know, I thought Old Bandit was you know, something special. And well, my brother at the time, he was dating a girl, and her dad was on a board there out of a hunting club there about probably 15 minutes from my house over in Arkansas. And he come over pleasure hunting with me one night, and he said, "You ought to come over. We got a club hunt every Saturday night." He said, "You ought to come over and try it out." He said, "I think you'd really enjoy it." And me being the competitive person that I was, you know, he kept telling me everything. I said, "Heck yeah, you know, that'd be fun." And so my dad, he hauled me over there just a couple of Saturdays later, and I found out real quickly that Old Bandit wasn't as good as what I thought he was. but you know, they were having a series type thing, and they give you so many points for showing up and so many points for winning your cast and second, you know, and their fourth. And they was giving belt buckles away to the youth. And And I got very fortunate that year. I went to every one of them and got a belt buckle, and that prize right there kind of hooked me, I think, as far as that goes. It hook, line, and sinker. But I can tell you this, it was I got the belt buckle not because I had the best dog, but because I showed up about every time.
Well, there's something to be said for persistence, right?
You bet. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir. For sure. Yes, sir.
In other words, you got the perfect attendance award there. But
you bet. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah. I think I was the only kid that showed up to every one of them.
Well, I think that shows how much you enjoyed it, though, and you found something that you can focus on. There's a big message for kids, and I guess all of us there, Lane, is that find out what you like to do, and then do it. Do it wholeheartedly.
Yes, sir.
Put your whole heart and soul into it.
Absolutely. Growing up, my mom and dad, they taught me, whatever you do, if you enjoy doing it and you really love doing it, you put everything into it, and you will be successful. And I'm very fortunate for that upbringing. And, they taught me that hard work and dedication and never losing your faith in Jesus Christ goes a long way. So, like I said, I'm very fortunate that they taught me that, and I've learned over the years that it's absolutely true.
It is, for sure, Lane, for sure. Well, okay, I may be jumping ahead just a little bit here, but when I want to talk about this PKC Youth Championship, was Emmy the dog that you hunted in that championship, or did you attain that? Well, so she's been with you through this whole ride, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay.
She has been. Yep. She was the one that we hauled up there and got very fortunate. But yes, sir. Yep. That's her. Okay. She's been with me since day one. Yep.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about Emmy, how you got her, maybe a little bit about her breeding and all, and just some background on your dog.
Okay, yeah. I got Emmy. Over the years, I just had some decent hounds, over the years, and I ended up getting Emmy. I bought her from a guy in Arkansas. She was 10 months old, and when I got her, she was absolutely there was just something about her, she come to this world, wanting to tree coons, and she come to this world wanting to be alone. And I just knew, there was something special about her, and she's exactly what I love in a hound. She's a loner that when she trees, she likes to have coons. But I tell you, in my opinion, what separates her from any other dog that I've ever owned, and that's her heart and drive. She's the type of dog that, no matter what, as long as she's not on the dog lead in a competition hunt, you can't count her out. She's going to give it absolutely everything she has every single time you unsnap her. And to me, that's what separates her. Whenever times get tough, a lot of them dogs would give up on me, and Emmy just never has. She never did do that. But that's, in my opinion, what separates her apart from anything that I've ever owned. But as far as her breeding goes, she's out of a dog from Tennessee called Gorgeous Gomer, owned by Ronnie Patterson. And Gomer, he goes back to the Smith's Bulldozer dog, which is kind of where they get their colors, kind of what I'm told, and
okay.
But he goes back to Naylor and Rat Attack as well.
Right.
And on her top side, she is out of a dog called Caney Creek JoJo. Well, JoJo wasn't out of nothing just real special. She goes back to the nighttime savage dog and things like that. But then, further back, she goes back to Rat Attack and Naylor. So Emmy's, she's double Rat Attack and double Naylor bred. So, and that's what she's bred like. But I tell you, she's been a blessing to me beyond measure. I tell you, I can't be thankful enough, so.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about her as we go along and the way she operates and all of that. But you've got a long resume here, Lane, and we need to get into talking about some of the things that you and Emmy have been able to accomplish. Let's go back to this PKC Youth Championship, how you got involved with hunting in PKC, how you prepared for that, the experience itself, some of those kind of things. Can we shine that tree a little bit?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Yeah, as you said, Emmy and I, we've been blessed beyond measure. I can't thank the good Lord enough for everything He's blessed us with. For sure, that's first and foremost. Before anything else, I got to give credit where credit's due, and without Him, I feel like that we wouldn't be where we're at today. So I'm very thankful for that. But yes, sir, as you said, the very first big hunt that I put Emmy in was the 2014 PKC Youth World Championship. She was almost 2, but yes, sir, we went up there, and it was we got qualified for that. We actually won the Oklahoma State Youth race that year, and so we got to go up there and hunt in that. And I tell you, that was at the time an experience that was one of the most experiences I won't forget. Carl Reed, he hauled me up there, and he hauled me and his boy up there, and the kid that won it the previous year was from Oklahoma as well. Dalton Majors is his name, and he rode up with us, and that it was a heck of a deal. I was on cloud 9 after that thing, but the first round she operated really good for a young dog that really hadn't been hauled to town much, and that was really my first big hunt as well, and I just told myself I got to keep my nerves calm, and not make any mistakes, and the first round she treed the only coon we seen, and then the next round I drew a boy from back home, and we had a really good hunt. We treated a couple coons in that cast, and then in the finals it was a nail biter. It was one of those hunts that you didn't know who was going to win it until the last tree was scored.
Kind of like this recent World Championship.
Yes,
huh?
Absolutely, yes, sir. It was every single one of the Final Fours I've been in like that. I tell you, they've all been nerve-wracking for sure. Just going into it, being nerve-wracking, but coming down to where it's going to be the last tree determines who the world champion is. I tell you, going into that tree, you're hoping and praying, for the best outcome. But yeah, we had a good hunt in that final. But it was actually final 3 there, and Adam Borden was in it, and Marcus Hyde was in it. But Emmy treed a circle tree, and I felt like she probably had a coon. We just couldn't find it, and so she ended up getting recut back and struck for 25, and Marcus's dog was struck for 50, and he hadn't made a tree yet, so he was still carrying his strike. Well, Emmy trees a coon. Well, Marcus's dog gets treed through the country, and that ended up leash locking me and Adam, and we walked the hunt out going to him, and I knew there wasn't nothing we could do. I was banking on that dog. I really figured the dog had a coon, and he was in a really good tree, and he very well could have had a coon, but fortunate enough for us, the coon didn't look, so we walked out of that cornfield, that year's world champions, and it was an experience that I won't ever forget. That's for sure.
Well, when I was with PKC, Lane, I always enjoyed the youth hunts, and the dinner and the speeches and all of that, and that it's such a great thing for young hunters like yourself. How would you rate that experience overall, being a PKC youth hunter?
I tell you, it was an experience that was amazing. PKC, they always doing an awesome job of putting on their youth hunts. They always make the youth feel like welcome and at home, and all the people, all the guides, the judges, everybody that puts that hunt on and helps with that hunt are good people, because that it's time that they're taking out of their day and everything, and everybody just always volunteers to, without a doubt, without any question, to do it, because they care for this sport, and they want to see this sport continue to grow, and without guys like them, it wouldn't be possible.
Well, how much value would you put on that experience in looking back where you are now, leading a world champion? What part did that youth championship experience play in that for you? I knew that Emmy was something special. I also knew that she was just a dog. She had off nights like every single one of them will, but I knew that she was something special. But going up there competing against some of the best youth handlers in the country, and some of the best hounds in the country,
it just give me a confidence booster. I felt like that after that win, that the sky was the limit, that it just showed me that I could go and compete with any dog on any night if my dog had it on her mind. So it was just mainly a confidence booster, for sure. And like I said, I was very blessed, and it's an experience that I'll never, ever forget, for sure.
Well, I think there's something to be said, the fact that you took this young female. How old was Emmy at the time you won that youth?
She was just it was in October, and she would have turned 2 that May, so she would have been just under 2.
Well, I think the thing our listeners should put into help put this into focus is a lot of times those youth are hunting some of the best competition hounds in the country, that they're hunting them for someone else. So I think it speaks pretty well for you that you were able to take your own dog, and that's not to discourage the other youth hunters from doing that. You want to get in a horse race, I guess you want to ride the best horse you can find.
Yes, sir, yeah.
But it is pretty amazing that you were able to win that with your own dog. Now, they give some scholarships and all. Do you remember what your prizes were?
Yeah,
for that?
Yes, sir, I do. They give away $2,000 in cash, and then they'll give you a $4,000 scholarship, which played a big role in my life, because I went to junior college, and that helped pay for my schooling. I got a scholarship for livestock judging too, and I tell you, the scholarship through PKC helped me tremendously. So I'm very thankful for that as well. Well,
that's definitely a big shout out to PKC for the job that they're doing with the youth, and that's a great story. Well, now, if we fast forward, then it was in 2018 that you went to what we call the boat or the truck hunt. What transpired between you winning the youth championship and going up to Lula, Mississippi, and hunting for a truck?
Yes, sir. The year that we got qualified to go hunt for a truck, it's a very special story. It's one that just it's amazing. But we ran for the state race that year, and we was leading the state race. Well, I'd always heard about the truck hunt, and I'd always wanted to go hunting at least once, and so I was very excited to try to get a truck ticket. Well, the month of May, we ran for a truck ticket, and we just barely missed it. We didn't get one, and I think it was by just a couple $100 we didn't get a truck ticket, and which it didn't discourage me too much, because I knew we had a few months left in it, and we was just going to try to keep chugging along, and maybe if we got on a roll for it, so
let me interrupt you just a second, Lane. Let's tell our listeners, a lot of them aren't aware of what we're talking about when we talk about getting a ticket to go and hunt for the truck. Can you just lay out that system, what that takes, what that entails?
Yes, sir. So PKC, they give away what they call a truck ticket. They give away they have 2 different divisions. They have what they call a senior division, which is dogs that doesn't have a super stakes left. And then they have a puppy division, which is dogs that are 3 and under that have super stakes left. And they give away 5 tickets per dog each month. They give away 3 for an overall. And what I mean by overall is they give away 3 to dogs that win, $30 hunts and $50 hunts and things like that are open events. And then they give away 2 of them that go to just $30 truck tickets. And so at the end of the year, for the senior deal, they'll have 60 dogs that have truck tickets, and they'll take what they call 4 at-large bids. And those are the dogs that have won the most money throughout the year, pretty much the most cast wins that didn't get a truck ticket. And same thing with the pup deal. You have 60 dogs, and then you got your 4 at-large bids.
Okay. Well, go ahead and tell us how you and Emmy got there.
Okay, so like I said, the month of May, we run for a ticket and missed it, and so we knew we had a few months left to try it out, and we was just going to try to just go along there to some local hunts and try to stay in the state race and try to stay with the lead. And well, the month of September, we went to the Little Dixie and got lucky and got in the Final Four there one night. And then there was another added purse up in Kansas that we went to, and we got in the Final Four in it. And I didn't even realize that we were, close to getting a truck ticket. And before I know it, the month is over and I'm looking at the standings and we missed it by just $100 again. So I thought, well, man, dang it, and so the year's over and I'm thinking, well, maybe we'll get it large, because she won over $2,000 that year. And I think, 80% of it was in $30 hunts. So I was hoping that we would get it large bid and the large bid comes out. We didn't get one of them. And I thought, man, well, we'll try it again next year, they have kind of like alternates. They have some dogs that they put on a list that just in case if one of the at-larges can't come or somebody else can't come, well, them dogs will come. And, it rocked on there. And I thought, well, maybe we'll get a chance at that. And it turns out we didn't. But Brandon Castleman, he was at one, and I knew he made a post on Facebook that they called him and that somebody couldn't make it, and they asked him if he wanted to go to the truck hunt, and he said he was going to go, and I was looking at the list, and I knew that Emmy was the next dog, so I thought, man, just we're so close, but anyways, a couple of days later, Brandon puts on Facebook that he's not going to be able to make it, that his dog come in heat. And it just wasn't a few hours later, I got a call from Jerry Mall, and Jerry asked me if I could make it to the truck hunt without hesitation. I said, yes, sir, for sure. I think he called me on a Wednesday, and the truck hunt was that Friday. And I'd been hunting Emmy a little bit. She was honestly out of shape, and I knew going into that she wasn't in the best shape. I just hunted her about 3 nights a week, but yeah, when he called me, I was beyond excited. I without hesitation, I loaded up Thursday night and I drove to Louisville, Mississippi, and on the drive, the only thing that I could think about was the first year that Doug and Bone Collector won it. Is the same scenario. He didn't get a truck ticket, but he was on the way to go judge it, and they called him and said, hey, somebody can't come. You're next in line. You got Bone with you? And he said, no, but I'll go get him. And he ended up going and winning the truck. And I tell you, just going into it, I thought, no matter what happens, we're here for a reason. And, it's been a blessing that we're getting to even come and hunting this. And I just felt like that, we were there for a reason, and I had just a ton of confidence because of that. I truly felt like that we was getting to go hunt for it and for a reason. And I thought that was, the reason was probably that we were meant to win it, but I didn't want to jinx myself, but I was just hoping and praying that was why. And it just turns out that that was the case. And I tell you, it was a life changer for sure.
Well, sure. Now, this might be a good time, Lane, to talk about your partnership on Emmy. You have a partner.
Yes, sir. I tell you, when Emmy was 15, 16 months old, I'll back up a little bit to kind of give you the whole background on it. And I got a call from a few guys that had heard about her, and they wanted to buy her. And, I didn't want to sell her. And Carl Reed called me and he said, hey, I want to buy her. I want to buy your dog from you. And I said, no, I don't want to sell her. I kind of like her, I want to keep her around. And he said, if you change your mind, let me know. And so a couple of days rocked on there. And I'd always heard good things about Carl. He's been around in the state of Oklahoma. He's one of the guys that whenever you hear about competition hunting, you think of Carl Reed, and he, I'd always heard great things about him. And I thought, what, I'm going to call him and see if he wants to partner on her. Well, I call him and he says, no, I don't really want to partner on her. He said, I'd like to just buy her. And I said, well, I don't want to get rid of her. And I said, I tell you what, I said, we'll just partner on her. And he's like, no. And it rocked on there a couple more days. And he calls me and he says, let's just go ahead and partner on her. So we worked out a deal on her. And I tell you, that right there was a life changer for me, because Carl has taught me absolutely everything I know about being a good sportsman. He's taught me everything I know about being a good houndsman. He's a very intelligent man when it comes to hound hunting, and I tell you, he's turned to that partnership has turned into a friendship that won't ever be broken for sure. He's the one that hauled me to the Youth World Championship, and you know, he's been there for us from the very beginning. But he taught me a lot, and like I said, that's been a life-changing experience for sure.
Well, I had the privilege of meeting Carl a few years ago when I was out Kansas City way, and but at any rate, I'd have to agree with you. Seems like a very fine gentleman, and just didn't want to leave him out of this. That we
absolutely
recognize the fact that he's got a piece in this too. But well, that's great. And so you ended up. Tell us a little bit about that Final Four on that truck hunt and how that went for you.
Yeah, it was a pretty neat deal. You know, Cheyenne Cummings, he lives about 45 minutes from me, and he went up there and he ended up making the Final Four as well. So I thought that was pretty neat. That kind of calmed my nerves a lot, you know, having somebody that you know from back home in the Final Four. And Cheyenne, he's always a jokester. He's always cracking jokes, and we ate dinner that night before the Final Four, and he kind of jokingly tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Well, Lane, one thing about it, second place ain't too bad for you," and you know, joking that he was going to win it. And I tell you, it was a fun deal, but that took a lot of pressure off of me, you know, because I just felt like I was at a $30 hunt, to be honest with you. I felt like there wasn't a truck on the line, but going into that Final Four, again, I felt like we was there for a reason, and I had a ton of confidence, you know, and the Final Four, it was raining, it was terrible conditions, and we was hunting against the best dogs in the world. In my opinion, Full Throttle Meltdown was in there, and he's the all-time money winning dog from PKC, and then you had Sambo that's won a bunch, and I know he's a coon dog, and Shaq and Cheyenne, you know, Cheyenne's a great guy, and Shaq's a 100% coon dog, so I knew that it was going to take a lot of work for us to win that, but at the same time, you know, I felt like that I had confidence in my dog, and she deserved to be there as much as any of them, and but going into the Final Four there, I didn't know if my luck was going to hold out. Sambo and Meltdown, they treed a tree right out of the truck that was a circle tree, and mine hadn't made a tree yet, and mine gets treed finally, and we go into her, and she's in a great big old den tree. It's got a split all the way up the side of it, and we go to squalling and beating on the tree, trying to get the coon to come out of the hole, and a squirrel runs out. And in PKC, if there's a squirrel runs out of a hole, you know, a coon probably obviously run it out. So they won't minus you for it, but they delete your points. And at the time, that circle tree was going to put me either winning it or second. So, you know, I thought, man, that's a bad break right there, you know, and I thought that might have ended up costing me the hunt, but so we turned loose off of that, and she got way through the country. Sambo treated a slick tree in the meantime, and that opened the door for everybody. Meltdown, he took a couple minuses along the way, but he ended up treeing a coon, so that put him in the driver's seat, and he had won it the year before, and you know, he knew, you know, he'd been there before, but that put him in the driver's seat, and Emmy was a long ways away, and we pulled off a Meltdown's tree, and I didn't even have her picked up. I lost her well over a mile, like 1.56 or something like that, and you know, down there in those Mississippi bottoms, that sound carries good, and Emmy's got a type of you know, a mouth that when she gets treed, it just cuts the air in two, you know, and it carries really well. And she was treed when we pulled off that tree, and I treed her, and we walked across that Mississippi mud as a plowed field for what seemed like 5 miles. You know, right before we got there, it just got just stone cold silent. And I thought, what in the world, you know, and next thing I know, she's barking on the ground. So I, you know, judge minuses her, and I thought, well, she just give it away, you know, it's that was it. And there was probably 4 minutes left in the cast, and she run this coon just red hot, wide open for a couple 100 yards, and just come treed with, I don't know, 2 minutes left in the cast or something. And at that point I had nothing to lose. So, you know, I treated her, and we walked in there. The hunt was over by the time we walked in there, and you know, I go, and just for some reason I just figured that we wouldn't be able to find him because of the way my luck was in that cast, and I just figured that Meltdown was destined to win another truck, and we tied her back, and Judge says, "You want help?" And I said, "Yeah." And before I even told him to shine it before I even actually tied her back to a tree. And when they said, "Here he is," I remember it like it was yesterday. I didn't want to believe them. You know, I said, "Are you sure that's a coon?" And because I didn't even see it yet. And they all started laughing. They said, "Son, you act like that's the first coon she's ever treed." And I said, "I tell you what," I said, "it's not the first one, but it's probably the most important one she's treed to date." And it was a big joke. And you know, I tell you, that was an emotional win for me. It was just a couple days after that my grandpa would have been passed away for a year. So it was a very emotional win. And I tell you, it meant a lot to me. It was a game changer. It was a life changer.
Well, the picture of you and Emmy sitting in that truck on the cover of Pro Hound magazine showed pretty much the story, the look on your face, Lane.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, happy times for sure. Chris, you got anything you want? Chris, you got anything you want to jump in here while we catch our breath just a minute?
No, you guys are knocking it out of the park. I'm just sitting here taking it all in. Don't want to suck the air out of the room with the energy Lane's bringing to us.
Well, that's for sure. Absolutely. Okay. So we've talked about the youth championship, which was a great win, and then the truck win, of course. Anybody win a new pickup truck at today's prices, that's quite a chunk of money. How much money does PKC give you on your lifetime earnings for a truck?
They give you $29,999. It's short $1 of what it would be if you won the World Championship, the PKC World Championship.
I see. They don't want to upstage that, then, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah. Which is understandable, you know, because your World Hunt's supposed to be probably the most prestigious and the biggest one and the hardest one to win. So you don't want to upstate it for sure.
All right. Well, now let's we've been talking PKC pretty much.
Yes, sir.
Up to this point. Now, along this journey, how much hunting in UKC were you doing with Emmy?
We'd hunted quite a bit in UKC. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a coon hunter and I'm a competitive person, and I just like going to. I'll hunt any kennel club. I don't care what it is. I just go to support the local clubs, you know, and so I'd hunted UKC several times, and we'd made her a grand night when she was, I'd say, around 2 or so. We'd actually, in 2015, we won the Oklahoma State UKC Championship with her. And so that was a very blessing win too. But yeah, you know, I'd hunted her, you know, in several UKC hunts. I'd actually got her qualified for the zones before, but just never had any luck when she was younger there. And last year, we didn't get her qualified for the zones because she come in heat, and we bred her to big money. But so we didn't take her to the zones. But yeah, I'd hunted UKC before, you know, and I enjoy UKC. I enjoy every one of them. I just enjoy the competitiveness and you know, the camaraderie, and I enjoy all of that, you know. I just enjoy hunting with different people, and you know, like I say, it's just a pleasure for sure.
Well, as we're talking about that, and you know, I think in life people tend to choose this or that. You hunt, you drive a Chevy, I drive a Ford. You like a blonde, I like a brunette. You know, those kind of things. But
yeah.
Do you think there's any kind of a difference in the styles of dogs between UKC and PKC?
You know, just, you know, that's a tough question, but you know, as a general deal, at the end of the day, in my opinion, the dog that's going to tree the most coons wins. UKC's rules, you know, they just changed them, which is good. I think that rule changes, the rule changes that they put into play is absolutely one that's going to be a game changer for UKC. I feel like that it's a better one for them. But you know, in UKC, their rules, in my opinion, the rules difference is a handler type deal. A difference in the people. You know, some people like hunting dogs that are going to pack around a little bit, and some people don't. Me personally, I like a dog that's going to be alone when it gets treed, and it's going to have a coon when it trees. But as far as the different type of dogs, you know, I feel like that people get too caught up in that myself. You know, at the end of the day, we're all coon hunters. At the end of the day, we're out there to tree raccoons, and I feel like that, you know, the dog that trees the most raccoons should be awarded, you know, and so that's kind of my outlook on that.
Yeah, and that's the case either way, right? You know, you hear these, we used to say, and of course I've been around, so to speak, with 3 different registries, but, you know, when I would hear a criticism about a dog winning on minus points or circle points, I'd say, well, you know, plus points will beat all the minus and all the circle in the world.
Yes,
so
sir.
If you've got a coon treer, you know, you're going to come to the top no matter what registry you're hunting in.
Steve,
yes,
Steve,
sir.
hey, Lane, Steve,
yes,
if you haven't
yes,
been
sir.
able to tell by now, Steve couldn't keep a job. He's been at all 3.
That's right. Hey, Lane, I ran out of kennel tubs, you know, and of course then Reggie came along with CHKC.
You need to get back in the game.
Yes.
Oh, no. Hey, listen, this podcast is keeping me far busier than I want to be. Well, for sure. Okay, Lane, let's talk about this big event and the primary reason that we wanted to get with you in a timely manner, because it's only been a few days now as we're recording this since you won the UKC World Championship. And, you know, to me, that's just such an amazing thing. Chris alluded to it earlier. Listeners will agree. Most of us spend a lifetime maybe not going at it as hard as you have in your young life, but we've all wanted to own a world champion, and we've always been proud when a world champion shows up on the pedigree of a dog that we're handling. So let's talk about the UKC World Hunt, your process of qualifying Emmy, going to the zones and the finals. We don't have to, you know, root out every little detail, but if we can kind of give our listeners an idea of what all that entails. How did that play out for you?
Yes, sir. We got qualified. Emmy and I got qualified at Seneca, Missouri's RQE. That's the club that Cheyenne and Jennifer Cummings run. And like I say, it's 45 minutes from my house, and I'd been to a couple of them and just didn't have any luck, and we had some luck there. We ended up treeing a couple coons, and I can't remember where we placed that in that RQE, but we placed it high enough in the top 10 that we get to go to the zones. And the zones for the last couple of years has been at Miami, Oklahoma, and it's an hour from my house, and so I definitely wanted to go there and kind of stay at home if I could, and so that's where we went to our zones at, and we had great casts both nights at the zones. The coons just weren't cooperating for us. I got the guide out of Miami there, and I went back home and hunted probably just 2 or 3 miles from my house, and you know, the coons just weren't moving as good as what I anticipated them to be. And the first night there at the zones, Emmy treed the only coon that we seen, and then she blew out a pocket there and never did get to hear again until after the hunt was over. But and then the next night, going into the next night, I felt like I had to win my cast, you know, if I wanted to advance, because I just scored 150 plus points the Friday night. And so going into that next cast, I felt like there was a lot of pressure on us, and you know, and I just, right out of the truck, I was just, you know, I was gung ho and wanted, you know, and I felt like I needed to win, like I said, and it cost us some tree points. I treated her for 125, and she just rolled on out there, you know, and I don't think she's ever treated right. I think the nerves just got to me, but I thought, yep, here we go, you know, Lane's going to give it away. But but no, we go on to that deal there, and she ends up bailing me out by treeing 2 coons, the only 2 coons we've seen, and so she won that cast there, and I knew that, you know, having a double cast win, the odds of me getting through was very good, and we ended up placing 4th in the zones there, and it was a pretty neat deal. And it was be my first trip to the World Finals, and I was excited just to be able to go. And I tell you, we left Wednesday night, and I went to Iowa up there, and
now who traveled? Did you have somebody traveling with you? Do you have Carl didn't go with you to the World Championship, did he?
No, sir, he couldn't make it. He had some other priorities he had to take care of, so he couldn't make it. But yeah, I traveled up there alone, and but I went to the truck hunt by myself, so I'm kind of used to being a lone ranger. but no, we get up there Thursday, and I tell you, I was just very excited to get to go, and my dog had been looking really well, and I just felt like that this might be the only year that I have a chance at winning it. You know, because you just, you know, Emmy's getting up there in her age, and you don't want to run her as hard as what you used to. And
now, how old is she now, Lane?
She's 7. Yep, she's 7. Okay. She'll be 8 in May. So she's just, you know, 7.5 or so. But so we get to Iowa on Thursday, and Alan was going through his ceremonies there, and I tell you something that just really stuck out to me was he was telling us about the last time the World Championship was in Iowa. And sometimes I can be, you know, kind of leery of things. And he said, well, the last time the World Championship was in Iowa was in 1996. And it was in Waverly, Iowa. And I thought to myself, and that just stuck out to me. And I thought, that's kind of weird. I was born in 1996. You know, maybe that's a sign. Maybe this is our year to win it. And a lot of people told me I was crazy for thinking that, but sometimes I can get suspicious about things. But
well, let me interrupt you real quick here, because when you get to be my age, Lane, you know, sometimes the memories are what's the most important. You know, I'm not out there making memories at a fast clip the way I once did, but that 1996 hunt in Waverly, Iowa, was one that sticks out to me, because that was the last world hunt that I officiated over in my tenure at UKC. And it was a great hunt. Mike Carmack from there in Indiana won the hunt with the Walker dog. And his name is escaping me right now, that dog's name. But anyway, we had a great dinner there, and they grilled some fabulous pork chops, I remember. And it was all just, there was a guy named Kenny Moore that handled the dog that won the World Championship. And as soon as this podcast is over, that name will come back to me crystal clear, no doubt. But anyway, it's great to hear you mention that hunt, because it was a milestone for me. That was right before I was soon after that would join PKC and move ahead that way. But anyway, but you go ahead. Thank you for letting me reminisce a little bit. Yes, sir.
Since you're talking about that, I you know, of course, that was the year I was born, so I don't know nothing about that. But Alan had mentioned something about somebody trying to get somebody scratched for feeding them crackers or dog crackers or something on a cast. I thought that was pretty funny, but it was he said something about that. I'm sure you probably know more about that than I do.
Well, I remember a little bit about that, yeah. But we'll just pass on by that for the.
But yeah, no. Thursday night, we had a great cast. We drove a ways Thursday night. We went west of Des Moines by probably 30 minutes. It was a really long drive. It seemed like forever. But we went out there, and it was worth it. I felt like we was in some really good coon hunting. It was kind of hilly and rough, which is kind of what it's like around my house. So I kind of felt at home, and you know, the coons just weren't moving at all, I don't think. The other dogs in those casts made a couple trees, and we just couldn't find a coon, and Emmy went 35 minutes without barking, probably, or better, 40 minutes. And when we finally got on top of a big hill, we could hear her. She was way close to a mile away from the cast, and she was struck finally, and everything was competing for strike. So I got to strike for 75. And when I struck for 75, I knew if she treated coon, because a couple of the dogs took some tree minuses, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if she trees a coon here, it'll be virtually impossible for somebody to beat me, especially if she's that far away. By the time we get in there, the hunt should be close to being out. And well, sure enough, it worked out that way. And she got in there and got treed, and I treated her. And on the way to her, the other dogs got treated. Well, they treed in, and so we went into Emmy. And on the way to Emmy, it was pretty neat. We got probably 100 yards from Emmy, and we seen a really big buck bedded down, and I thought it was a monster. You know, I'd never been to Iowa before, and I said, man, that's a giant buck, you know, and of course we didn't bother him. He just sat there and looked at us. But the guy just started laughing at me, and I said, what are you laughing about? He said, that's a little deer compared to what we normally see up here, and so that was pretty neat, seeing a big old buck like that on the way to Emmy's tree. And you know, when we finally got to Emmy, the hunt was over, and she was in the edge of a cornfield in a huge, great, big old tree, and I was just worried it was a den. It kind of looked like an old den tree to me, but we shined and got fortunate. She had 3 coons on the outside, so that kind of sealed it up. And when we got the other dogs, they had coons too. They were all 3 split, and all 3 had coons too. So, but you know, the coons I just felt like weren't moving very good early. I felt like that they were probably just now starting to move by the time we got out there, but it worked out for us. You know, a cast win's a cast win. When you're on that, when you get to the finals like that, you just try to win your cast and keep chugging along, you know. So, and you know, by the time we drove all the way back to the clubhouse, I didn't know if I was going to make it back. You know, we'd walked our tail off that night in that cast, and of course you got to go hunt late, you know, that night in round number 2, and by the time I got back to the clubhouse, I was wore plumb out. I guess the drive got to me. I have no idea, but the guy that Don, I can't pronounce his last name, but he's the man that guided the final cast. He's 80 years old. He guided and judged me in the late round, and we went to a good spot, and Emmy struck a coon and run it 400 or 500 yards and got treed and had it, but in, you know, 25 minutes or so, 20 minutes, and it was a bad track, but she ended up having a coon, and we very fortunately found it. So then we got to rest up, you know, the next night, and we was going into Friday there, and going into Friday, I knew that there was 5 or 6 dogs from our zone, and which was zone 4 in Miami, and the 5 or 6 that still there were all friends, you know, he's all buddies. And I got to doing the math. I thought, there's just 26 dogs left in this thing, and 5 of them's from our zone. There's a good chance of somebody drawing each other. And sure enough, I think everybody got away from each other, but me and Dalton Cummings, and I drew Shaq, and it was me and Shaq and Dual Murphy hunting Piper, and Mark Bosa hunting a female that has been on a hot streak. She just won the Missouri Pro Hunt this year, and going into that cast, I felt like that. Me personally, I felt like that was probably one of the toughest casts there in the semifinals. I felt like you could probably, that's a cast you might hunt 5 nights in a row and might get, you know, just 5 different winners. But, right. But it was a very tough cast, and I knew going into it, it was going to be just an all-out war, so to speak. It was going to be one of those deals where, you know, probably whoever treed the last coon, you know, was going to win. Just kind of like a high-scoring football game, you know, the team that's got the ball last is going to win that, and going into that cast, that was my mentality, and we had a great guide, and we had a good judge, and we treed. I think we ended up treeing. Emmy treed 3 coons on that cast. Dual Murphy's female treed 2. Shaq treed 1. So we scored on 6 coons in that cast, and I was very fortunate enough to pull out a win. I was getting beat with around 8 or 9 minutes left in the cast. I had 350, and so did Dual Murphy, but he had a circle tree, so he had me beat on tiebreaker. None of us had minus or anything like that, and so I knew I had to make another tree. And Emmy was struck, and she was trailing a coon. And it was real rough where we were at, and and she trailed this coon up there, and I just remember I was praying. I said, "Come on, little girl, get treed, get treed for me." And with about 6 minutes left in the cast, she rolls up treed right in front of us, and instead of nothing was even around her, and I just got excited. And when she loaded up and come treat, I just got excited and treat her instead of letting her treat for a minute, like a good handler would. I just got excited, and she kind of hushed there for a minute. When she hushed, I thought, oh great, I'm having flashbacks of the truck hunt. Here she's going to leave this tree here, but no, she went back to treeing, and we walked in there to her, and it was a good tree, and I knew it was at least a circle tree, but I also knew that 350 plus, UKC, they do the thing where the top 3 scores automatically advance to the finals, and then the other 4 cast winners has to go hunt for the 4th spot.
Right.
And when you got a dog, that's coming 7, 8, that's been hauled all over the country, you gotta take advantage of every rest that you can get it. And so I knew that I needed to have a coon, and I knew the track she run in there wasn't a very good one, but she worked it good enough that I was very confident in her having a coon. I felt like that she should have had a coon because she's a type of dog that likes having coons when she trees, and so we started shining it, and after about 3 or 4 minutes of shining that, I finally found him, and we ended up, after we found the coon there wasn't but 20 seconds left in the cast, and by the time I got comfortable enough off the tree, the hunt was over, and we ended up winning that round with 500 plus, and I thought going into it, I thought, man, I hope 500's enough, and everybody that was with me, they were like, surely it is, that's a good score. I said, yeah, but up here, you can get in a deal where in Iowa, you can tree 3 or 4 coons in just little to no time. You can get in those pockets of coons and just go to treeing them. And so I didn't know, so there was a couple of casts there that I knew that was going to good hunting, and so I was just worried all the way back clubhouse, and I was the second to last cast back to the clubhouse, and Brett Myers had 775, and then it was me with 500, and the guy that won his cast with the Bonnie female, she come in with 525, so that put us in third, and it worked out to where we ended up. That's where we were the third highest score, so we got to rest, and that to me was probably could have been a game changer, because like I say, you go to hunting them older dogs that's been hauled all over the country, 4 or 5 rounds in a row, they go to getting tired on you, and like I said before, Emmy's heart and drive and ability, I figured if any dog could do it, I feel like that she could have done it, hunted that extra round, but I was beyond glad to be able to let her rest.
Well, something's entered my mind here just for a minute here, and of course you made that top 3, and then those other 4 dogs, as you say, had to go out and hunt for that 4th spot. And that ended up, I believe, was the Fairy Dust female that ended up getting that 4th spot. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah, right. Well, let's do a little thing for the vendors out there in the world, and for the guys, the prospective world champions and all that stuff. What kind of light were you using when you found that coon?
I was using a moonshiner light made by Donald Maggard here in Oklahoma. He's helped me out since, I tell you, the very first light that I ever bought was a moonshiner light, and I tell you, he's always been all for helping me. I can't thank him enough for helping me. He builds a great quality light. It's durable, it's tough, but I tell you what I like about his lights and him more than, and I'm not necessarily dogging anybody else by any means. I don't want people to get me thinking I am, but I tell you what I really like about him and his lights is he stands behind them, and he'll help you no matter what.
There you go.
He's absolutely a great guy. So, but I've got other people that I'd like to thank maybe later on. But yeah, since you asked about the light, moonshiner lights for sure. Yeah. He helps me out tremendously, and he builds, like I said, a quality light, and they're durable, they're tough, and he'll stand behind them and take care of you.
All right. Well, do you wear waders? Do you wear frog leg type boots? Yeah. What do you like there?
I tell you, my waders that I wear, they come from Okie Dog Supply. They're in Claremore, Oklahoma. Mike and Sandy, they're awesome people. They're great people. They've helped me out tremendously this last year. They've jumped on board to help me out next year too. I tell you, they also own mule brand clothing, and that's what my chaps are. They're mule brand clothing, and the boots I wear are Quattros, but they help me out with the boots and the chaps, and they're big time Garmin people, and they know Garmin's really well, and if I ever have a problem with a Garmin or anything, they're without a doubt always there to help me. So I definitely got to give them a shout out for sure. I mean, because without them, helping me, I mean, without everybody that helps me, it's a team effort, and it's like anything else. I'm very fortunate, very blessed to have them. So got to give them a big shout out too. And the coon and the squallers that I use that I found my coon with going into this, that my last coon that ultimately would get me into the Final Four is Big Show Game Calls. Josh Michaelis up in Missouri. I tell you, he's helped me out tremendously this last year. He is an awesome guy, and he's just like Mike and Sandy and Donald. They sell amazing products, but what gets my attention more than any of them is if anything goes wrong with them, they'll stand behind them and they'll take care of you. And to me, that means the world.
Well, sure it does. Customer service is very, very important. And
yes, sir.
We give a shout out to our title sponsor, W Hunting Supply. Then that's what their creed has been, down through the years, is that outstanding customer service.
Absolutely. All right. Yes, sir, for sure.
All right. Well, let's get back to this World Hunt then. So we've got we get to rest. We don't have to go back out late Friday night. Saturday's got to be a pretty interesting and exciting day when you're in the Final Four at the World Championship. Give us a picture of what that was all about for you.
Oh, for sure. Yes, sir. Going into the, growing up as a kid and getting the Bloodlines magazines and things like that, and watching the videos on YouTube on the Final Four of the UKC World Hunt, what I think is pretty neat about their UKC hunt over everybody else's is the Final Four, their interviews, they have you pull your truck inside a building and you sit on your tailgate with your dog tied to your tailgate, and I think that's really neat. That was a pretty neat deal, and I was excited as heck to be able to pull my truck into that building, I tell you. But growing up as a kid, seeing that, being able to be there and that deal, it's just a dream come true. It's something that everybody, that every competition hunter, dreams of doing, is being there, getting to play on Saturday and taking that interview on the tailgate of your truck, and it's just something about that, it's very special. But yeah, that whole day was amazing. I tell you, I had so many people calling me and texting me and wishing me the best of luck, and it was just awesome going into that Final Four, knowing that you had a lot of people that had your back. It really means a lot, and it gives you a confidence booster, because whether you take first or you take fourth, you're proud to be there, and you're not going to hang your head when you go home, because just getting there is beyond good enough, but it's like anything, you try to do as good as you can do, and you just take what you got coming to you, and I was very fortunate, but yeah, that whole day, I watched the bench show, and I had so many people coming up to me and just congratulating me and wishing me the best of lucks, and it was just it was an awesome day. That day was. It kind of helped calm my nerves a little bit, but after the Final Four interviews, when we all got together, the cast got together, it really started to set in. Hey, I'm here competing for a world championship, and why not try to win this thing? And I tell you, it was that's when my nerves started hitting me. On the way to the woods, I tell you, I've as you mentioned before, we've been very fortunate to be in 2 or 3 major event Final Fours, but this one here, I tell you, something about it, I was just nervous as I've ever been. We got to the woods, and I felt like I didn't have any strength in my body. Matter of fact, in the Final Four, I fell 3 or 4 times. I felt silly, falling around out there. There was an 80-year-old man out there that was getting around better than I was, but I just felt silly, but I guess it was just because I was so nervous, and usually the nerves will get to me, but after the dogs are casted, it just all goes away. Well, it didn't go away, that cast, until Emmy's second coon that she treated, and then it started becoming reality that we had a shot at winning it, and well, it started calming down.
Right. Well, I have a thought here as you're talking. Now, you know, some people competition hunt strictly for the money. Others competition hunt because they're competitive, as you've said that you are. Others for various reasons. But down through the years, I've thought about this many times, that it's, you know, recognition is the name of the game. To be able
Yes, sir.
to be recognized, and this is in no way downplaying the fact that, in fact, I don't think there's anybody listening to this podcast that wouldn't like to take a check for $30,000 or $40,000 home.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
You know, I mean, that would be awesome. But it goes deeper than that, I think, because yes, there was some cash at the end of the rainbow for you, and quite a good amount of it. But this aspect of having your name inscribed along, you know, when I was at UKC, and I don't know if they still have it or not, but there was a trophy that sat in the lobby of the office that had the names of each of the world champions down through the years. Okay. And then along the hallways of UKC are the photos of these dogs, these winners, and these Purina Award winners and all this. And to see someone walk in that office and walk down those hallways and see their picture on that wall, it's almost indescribable. You can see it all over their face, the feelings that they have, you know. So I can understand the fact that you are having a case of nerves here, and it's not about, sure, you know. But anyway, you know that feeling better than I. I've never been there. I've been in the room and handed the trophies and taken the pictures of many, many world champions. But I see that, and I want our listeners just to kind of feel what you were going through then. So I'll shut up now, and you tell me.
Okay, yeah, you know, the whole Final Four, you know, it's going into that. I tell you, like I said, I've been nervous before, but I was more nervous this time than any. But you know, I just tried everything I could to not get nervous, but it just didn't work because, you know, you're competing for a world championship. You're competing, like you said, probably one of the most prestigious hunts that you can win, because that title and that name will stick with your dog long, you know, years after it's gone. And, you know, and to me, that's what it's about. It's not about, you know, the $10,000, I'm telling you, is a blessing for sure. But at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's being out there competing against three of the other best dogs in the world and having a chance at being another world champion. But going into the final cast there, like I said, I was very nervous. It was probably a 30-minute drive. We had a very good judge, and Jack Bingham, he was our judge, and our guide was a very good guide, and I felt like we was going to go to a really good spot. We walked the dogs. We actually parked at a house, and we walked the dogs through the backyard of these people's house, and we cut them loose there off down a fence row by a bean field, and all the dogs just got struck right there real quick, and Emmy opened there under the minute, and I struck her, and she's the type of dog that usually when she barks, she's struck, whether it's 5 feet from you or 500 yards from you. So it's nice to be able to have the confidence in one enough, knowing that when they strike, you can strike them, and you ain't got to worry about them being quiet and getting quiet and causing you to get a minus, you know. But right. Then the fairy female, she opened for 75 there, right around Emmy, and they all just opened there. Bonnie struck for 50, and Ace struck for a quarter, and well, Ace just fell treat for 125, and Bonnie covered him for 75. Well, Emmy and Fairy Dust was going the other way now, and we found their coon. They was in a small tree, and they had a coon, and Fairy was treed while we was shining that tree. So they got recut after that, and we went to Fairy. When we got close to Fairy, Emmy was about 50 or 60 yards just behind her. And going in there, it sounded like they was together, and I thought, you know, there's no way that them dogs can be together. I mean, I wouldn't put anything past a dog. You know, they're all just dogs, but I was going to be shocked if mine was with her. And we got to Fairy, and she was up in a tree. Her tree kind of leaned over, and I treed Emmy, and we finally got Fairy out of the tree, and we found her coon, we got her recasted, and we went to Emmy, and we found she was in a great big old tree. I mean, a real big tree. And the judge found her coon just right away. She had 3 up there, I think. And we got her recasted back toward the other dogs. And after that, they all kind of split up. Well, Emmy and Ferry got restruck, and Bonnie and them got restruck as well. And they were working off in a holler. Well, Emmy and Ace got beside it, got close to each other, and Ace got treed, and Emmy was treed in the same area. And like, again, I didn't think they were together, but the Ace dog didn't sound right. I knew he didn't sound right, and the judge was having to run the 2 on him and off of him, and I had a chance, I had a choice to make. I either tree for 75 or try to wait and see if this dog leaves or takes a tree minus so I can tree for 125. And because I know they're not together, but they're so close you couldn't tell. Well, they run the 2 on him a couple times, and it come down there where there's just 30 seconds left on the tree. So I've got to tree now, because you don't want to miss out on, getting 75 points is better than not getting anything, and especially if they got a coon. And so I tree for 75, and we walk probably 75 more yards. Well, Brett minuses his dog. He says he's moving, and so we go to Emmy, and she's in a great big old tree, and it runs up into several trees, and it's real thick, and there's just a couple spots you can get a light in it, and I knew Ferry was probably treated this time, and I needed to get recut, so I only shined it for 4 or 5 minutes, and so I got recut, and Ace fell treed behind us, which Ferry was already treed in there, so we went and scored her, and she was up another tree. I mean, she was up in it, like 18 feet up in it. It's kind of a scary deal, but she had a den tree, and so I thought, okay, that's okay, because she had 200 plus, and Ace took some minus, and Bonnie has just got 125 plus, and I thought, okay, that's fine. We traded den tree for den trees there, me and Ferry did, so we're still even. I've still got her by a quarter, and Emmy, after we cut her off the tree, she just kind of blew through the country, and we got Bonnie was at Ferry's tree, and we got them recut. Well, we went to score Ace, and he was probably 75 yards from Emmy's tree, and he had a great big old circle tree too. We couldn't find his coon either, and well, Brett and I had the same thought, I think, in our head. We both knew that he was the only thing struck in, and we're scoring him, and nothing else is struck in, and he needs to strike for 100, to get back in the ball game, and so he's not going to spend a whole lot of time scoring this tree because he needs to get recut, because so strike will be open, everybody will be competing, and so sure enough, he does, and he gets struck for 100, and he's right by the cast, and so we walk away from him, get on top of a little hill there, and you could hear Emmy through the country there. It sounded like she was treed, and so I struck her in for 75, and we split the difference there, and we got up there probably 600 yards or so from her, and I decided to go ahead and tree her in, and Bonnie just struck and fell treed by us, and so we went on to Emmy, and it seemed like a forever walk, and I tell you, that place, I don't know if I've ever seen so many hot wires on a place in my life. About every fence you come to, they had a hot wire, and you're trying not to get shocked by it. It took us a while to get to her, but
it was an electrifying experience. You're trying to say, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Matter of fact, the tree that she was treed over across on a little creek, and there was a fence there, and I was so excited just to get her handled, that I didn't even pay attention, but that fence was hot, and I tell you, it shocked me when I got over it, and it about made me come off the ground. But yeah, I got her handled there, and she had a coon, and so this time I was going to go under that fence. I wasn't going to get shocked twice, but we got her back under that fence, and we was going to go score Bonnie, and in my mind I knew that Bonnie was a ways away, and Ace was the opposite way trailing. And so I took my option to lead to Bonnie's tree, because in my mind, I believe in my dog, but I also believe anything can happen, and they're all just dogs. And I didn't want to turn loose with less than 6 minutes or with more than 6 minutes left in the cast, and they have to put a stationary on me because, anything can happen. And so I decided that I was going to lead to Bonnie's tree, and I was adding up my scores in my head that, well, Bonnie's got a tree. She's got to tree 3 coons to beat me, more or less. she got treed 2 more, I guess, to beat me. And on the way to Bonnie, Ace gets treed. And I know Ace has got to tree 3 more to beat me because he took his tree minus. And so I'm thinking, you know, and there's like 20-some minutes left in the cast, and I'm thinking by the time we get in here to Bonnie and score it, if it takes a while, and then we get to Ace, the hunt should be over, and they'll be for sure less than 6 minutes, so I don't have to, you know, so nobody can put a stationary on me. So, but anyway, so we get 100 yards from Bonnie, and she just I mean gets quiet, and put the 2 on her. The 2 catches her. And the guy was worried about her because she had health problems the night before that, and everybody in the cast was worried about her. You know, I mean that tree minus took him. You know, he was in 4th, and he said, "Well, do you guys care if I go get her?" And the judge said, "Well, if you go get her, you got to withdraw. You know, but if it was mine, I would, because you know it's one of those things where he's not going to get no better than 4th, and so in a dog's health to me means more than anything. It means even if he had been winning it. You know, if he thinks there's something wrong with his dog, or if I thought there's something wrong with my dog, I'm telling you, I'm going to her. You know, I need to get to her and figure out what's wrong with her, and we told him that. So he went and got her, and I opted to keep Emmy on the lead going to Ace's tree, and because I figured by the time we got there and scored his tree, there wouldn't be no hunt time left, and we get to him, and we find his coon real fast. Ferry is still struck in. We were going to go to the last place we heard Ferry, and I think there was a couple minutes left in the cast at this point, and there was actually probably less than that, because I think there was probably around a minute left in the cast. I thought, well, by the time we got here where we hear Ferry, it'll be, you know, over. And well, I tell you, Brett's dog, we heard Ferry, so Brett recut. We both recut there, and Brett's dog done such a good job on a coon that I've ever seen. And I mean, my head was spinning. It happened so fast. He cut him loose, and I tell you, he went 30 yards and had his head in there, and he just got treed. And I thought, surely he didn't tree another coon, you know, and it's happening so fast. Now you're adding up scores in your head, you know, what's Brett got, you know, and I knew I had 425, and in my head I'm thinking there's no way Brett can beat me. But all this happened so fast, it just made my brain I just went brain dead for a minute, and I'm thinking, well, if he's got a coon, he's beat me. And leading around for 20 minutes just cost me the hunt. So I was kind of down on myself a little bit, and sure enough, he had a coon, and I said, "What's that give you, Brett?" And he said, "Oh, it just gives me 400." And I said, "Are you sure there's no way that you don't have more than me?" And he's like, "No, because I took that tree minus." And I just totally forgot about it, I guess. And at that point, and so I was like, "Oh, okay," you know, and you know, so the hunt was over, and Ferry did get treed again, but she had a circle tree, but. So on the way back to the truck, the whole way back to the truck, I'm adding scores in my head, and I'm thinking, I don't want to believe, you know, that I just won the UKC World Hunt for some reason. I just couldn't believe it, I guess, and you know, because it's something you work so hard for, and just all the, you know, hunting 7 nights a week and all the long nights, and everything just comes to pay off, you know, and you just want to make sure that it's true before you know, go do a backflip off the tailgate of your truck, but you know. The whole way back to the truck.
Go ahead.
It was a long walk, you know, and the whole way back to the truck, I was adding scores up, and I thought, you know, there's no way, you know, surely not, surely this ain't happening, and sure enough, it made it official when we got back and signed the scorecard, and the Master of Hounds checked it out, and I tell you, it was a feeling that I've never had before. Winning 2 other big major events is really neat, and I'm beyond blessed. But I tell you, winning that other world championship, it's a feeling that I don't think I'll ever get again. Hopefully I do. Hopefully I get another chance at something else. And but you know, if not, it's pretty neat. I tell you, it's a feeling like no other, because you know, all the hard work, all the dedication, you know, the time spent with your dog, and there's times where you know you think, man, it's not going to pay off, but in time only, you know, it will, and I tell you, it's when it does, it's worth everything. It's worth all the hard work and all the long nights, for sure.
Well, for sure, and to add to that list, you get to come on the Houndsman XP podcast and tell the world about it.
Sure.
How cool is that?
Yes, sir. That's awesome. You know, that's awesome. I tell you, that's an amazing experience for sure. I'm very thankful you guys give me this opportunity.
It's our pleasure.
Well, it's our pleasure. You know, as you were talking, Lane, I couldn't help but think about, we get people that enter the sport, all right, and they go out and they've got a dog and they recognize the dog's voice and they know the fundamentals of being able to strike and tree the dog. And they go out and they hunt in a hunt or two or three and they feel like they've been cheated in some way or whatever because they didn't win. As you were talking, I couldn't help but think about all that goes into being a world-class handler. As you talked about running these scores in your head and about deciding whether or not to recut and all these things that I think that sometimes new people that are new to the sport don't realize how complex this sport can be at times, and especially at this level. And I know I watched the play-by-play, and I applauded you. I think I made a little comment somewhere along the way about the expert handling that I thought you did in the cast. And but anyway, that's just kind of a word to the wise out there for those that are thinking about getting into competition is, learn your dog, learn the rules, know them inside and out, know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
Yep,
so
that's a fact. Yes, sir. Yep, for sure. That's, like you said, there's a lot more that goes into it than just striking and treating your dog. Like you said, the most important thing a person can do is learn the rules because, if you felt like you've been done wrong, there's a process for everything. And no matter what kennel club you hunt, and the best thing to do is follow that process. And if it comes to a panel, tell your side and be a sportsman about it. Don't go in there throwing a fit or anything like that because I don't feel like that's probably going to get you anywhere. But yeah, like you said, you just got to know the rules and know your dog too. Put in there's a lot of times and nights that goes into this process that a lot of people don't see or don't hear about. There's a kind of a saying that it goes if you want to look good in front of thousands, you gotta outwork. If you want to outwork people in front of thousands, you gotta outwork people when nobody's around, and that just goes to show it. But yeah, I mean, as far as you call me a world class handler, I definitely wouldn't call me that. but I tell you, I'm far from that. I'm just a young kid that's getting to do what he loves and is very thankful for it. I just try to give. I know my dog's gonna give me the best shot at it, and I just try to return the favor, and try to make sure everything, I can give her the best shot at winning that I can, and by being fair too, and that's that. At the end of the day, it's all about sportsmanship and it's all about being fair. And my name and my integrity means a lot more than any coon hunt, and I've said it a million times, and I'll always say that for sure. And I've been taught that, so.
I want to give a shout out and ask a question. I want to go back to something here, Lane. Who was handling the ace? Who was handling the ace dog?
Brett Myers.
Brett Myers, and you said Brett. I caught something there in that conversation. You said Brett minus his dog for leaving the tree. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, sir. He did. Yep.
So he did not wait for the judge to make a call. He knew his dog was wrong. On the biggest stage in coonhound competition, Brett stepped up and said, minus my dog. Now that is integrity. And that debunks.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
If every cast could go just like that, then we wouldn't have so many detractors out there about competition coon hunting. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, sir. I tell you. Yes, sir. I mean, Brett's a stand-up guy, and I've always been taught that. It's even when I'm judging, like if I'm an on-hunting judge and I'm judging 4 dogs, I try to learn the dogs as quick as I can. But as well as I do, it's hard to learn dogs. In 2 hours, you don't know every single move they're going to make. So it always makes it nice when guys own up when their dog leaves a tree or something like that. And I tell you, that makes me respect people for sure. And that's, like you said, that's the best thing you can do. When your dog leaves a tree, I mean, it's not your fault, and so the best thing you can do is just say, judge, minus me, and go on about it, because it takes a whole lot of argument out of it. A lot of people don't like being minus, but I tell you, the guys that do it, the people respect them for that. And I tell you, Brett's a stand-up guy. He really is, and I tell you, he was the first person talking about Brett. when I went to cross one of those fences when I was leading to his tree, he jokingly grabbed Emmy and he was leading her there, and he kind of took off with her. And I was thinking, man, where's he taking my dog, you know? And he's just leading her for me. And he turned around and looked at me, so you want her back? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, sorry, I just wanted to know what it felt like to lead a world champion, you know, and the hunt wasn't over. I said, don't jinx me like that, man. And, you know, Brett's just a good guy. He really is. He's a stand-up guy. And I tell you, you know, like you said about him minus his dog, not very many people would have done that. And it was a pretty neat deal to see him do that for sure.
Well, one of the things that I talk about with people who may not completely understand competition coon hunting is that it is a team effort, and the dog's got a job and the handler's got a job, and the handler's job is to, you know, call that dog and be a part of the winning team. You certainly don't want to make mistakes and hand your dog a defeat, but on the other hand, right is right and wrong's wrong, and if you can get that through your head and participate and compete at that level, then you'll be better off in the long run. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I learned at a young age in life and anything else. You know, if you want to be a great winner, you got to learn how to be a good loser, because coon hunting's like anything else. You're not going to win every cast you're put in. And when you get beat, the best thing to do is shake the man's hand at the end of the night and say, congratulations, your dog done a good job. And even if you feel like you shouldn't have lost that cast, you know, at the end of the night, it's better to shake their hand and to look them in the eye and tell them congratulations as it is to get mad and you know, hold a grudge on somebody, you know, because there's another one tomorrow night. That's kind of the way I look at it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
good
right.
Advice for sure, Lane. In our last episode, Mark Zapp spoke about this, about how close you can get at times and how disappointing it is when you don't win, but learn to win to lose gracefully. And I think your remarks are absolutely right on. You know, we have kids, young people. You've been a PKC Youth World Champion. What kind of advice would you give to a young guy that's just starting out in this sport, Lane? I'm sure you know, guys are going to be reading the articles in the magazines, listening to this podcast, and they're going to say, I want to be like Lane. I want to listen to what Lane has to say. What would you say to those kids?
I tell you that the first and foremost, what I tell them is if you know, no matter what their dream is, go for it, you know, and don't let anybody tell them that, and whether it's coon hunting or whether it's anything else. And I tell you, you know, the biggest thing is to put all the hard work in, put all the effort in, because all the hard work and the effort when nobody's around, it'll show one of these days. And you might not think it's going to show. It might not show when you want it to, but it will. If you continue to work hard, stay dedicated, and never lose faith, I tell you, the sky is the absolute limit, for sure, without a doubt. You know, and the main thing too, you know, like I touched on it a while ago, is be a good sportsman. You know, because you know, this is just a hobby. We all love it, and everybody gets wrapped up in winning. Like you said, nobody really likes to lose, but it's part of it. And when you lose, you know, you just got to be a good sportsman about it. And at the end of the night, because you know, people remember your name, and your name and a friendship is more than winning a coon hunt, in my opinion. And just being a good sportsman, you know, and you know, just like I said, and the main another thing that I always tell people and kids, you know, is just stay dedicated, because whenever times get tough, if you're dedicated to something you love, when times get tough, you're still going to continue to strive and to strive for greatness. And you know, if you don't truly love what you're doing and you're not truly dedicated to it, when you run into a wall, that's when most people just, you know, they can't push through the wall. So you just got to stay dedicated and enjoy the process too. You know, that's a lot of it too, is in enjoying it. And me personally, I enjoy the process as much as I do the outcome. You know, I just enjoy this sport that we all love, and it's just a true blessing for sure.
Well, what about the future, Lane? Have you thought about that? Is there a pup out there in the yard? What are you going to be doing going forward?
I tell you, yeah, you always kind of look forward to the future because it's sad to say it, but dogs don't live forever, and I know that, and I'm gonna cry like a little baby when Emmy leaves this world. But I tell you, the future I think is pretty bright for me, or for me and the dogs I got. We bred, as I touched on a little earlier, we bred Emmy to Kevin Cable's big money dog last year, and she had 8 puppies, and I ended up keeping one, and the one that I've got here at the house, he's coming on. He's coming on good. He reminds me a lot of Emmy when she was that age. They just turned a year old here the other day, and I tell you, if the little dog's got a big shoes to fill, but I tell you, I truly feel like he's on the right track. I mean, I might be a little biased because he's out of Emmy, but I truly feel like the little dog's got a bright future ahead of him. It's just going to take hard work and long nights like it did with Emmy, and so that's kind of my next deal is with Emmy. As far as Emmy goes, I'm gonna, we're gonna take it easy on her. We're gonna hunt her a couple nights of the PKC World Hunt, and then we're gonna take her to the truck hunt again because we got a truck ticket this year, the month of July, and we're going to take her and hunt her in the truck hunt, and that'll probably be her last hoorah as far as competition hunt goes. And she's treated me beyond good, and the way I look at it, the least I could do is return the favor, and let her live the rest of her life in happiness and just pleasure hunt her, a couple nights a week, because I know that's what a hound lives for. If you quit hunting one completely, I know it just it probably breaks their heart. Just like anything, that's what they live to do. That's what they've put on this earth to do. So we're still gonna pleasure hunt her, but as far as the next dog we probably take to town, it'll probably be this pup out of her, and like I say, hopefully he treats me half as good as she has, but at the end of the day, even if he don't, it's still gonna be nice to have something out of her. So.
Why, sure. And, that's the thing that we have to, we can push so hard in competition and think about winning and get so involved in all that activity and all. And we think about, I got a dog here. I'm sitting here looking at him right now. He's curled up on the floor on his bed. He's going to be 11 in November. He's traveled all over the country with me. We've had a lot of great hunts. Chris and I have hunted him up there in the hills and hollows of Indiana when he was a young dog and all that. But, I mean, he certainly obtained nothing that's noteworthy as far as titles or anything. But, man, he's been a great buddy and a great friend and a companion. And he and I have hit a lot of rest areas and truck stops all over the country. Just rode those miles together and all. And I think people lose sight of the fact of just how much these dogs really do mean to us. Oh,
absolutely. Yes, sir. As you said there, Emmy made an impact on my life whenever I first got her. And I tell you, you could take away both world championships that she's won. You could take away the truck. You could take away all the money she's earned. And she'd still be my buddy at the end of the day. And she would still always have a pen at my place till she died. I kind of made her that promise when she, just a pup, and I tell you, it's been a heck of a ride. I can't complain. The good Lord has blessed us beyond measure for sure. But like I say, you can take all that away, and I tell you, I still, like I said, she's still my buddy. I'd still have a place for her in my heart and in my pen till she died.
Well, Lane, it's been a great interview. I know Chris may have something there. I wanted to give you a chance to give a shout out. You mentioned that to some people you wanted to thank or whatever. And if you want to do that now, we certainly want to give you the opportunity.
Yeah. First and foremost, like I say, I always got to give credit where credit's due. And our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ has blessed me beyond measure. He's been with us along this way. He's been with me my whole life, and I tell you, it's amazing what a person can accomplish whenever he's behind you. I truly feel like there's nothing that's impossible or nothing that cannot be accomplished. But I definitely got to thank Carl Reed for everything he's done for me. like I say, he's turned in this partnership's turned into a friendship that I'll never forget, and a friendship that'll never be broken. And I gotta thank all my family, my mom, my dad, my brother over the years. That I worked for him. He was real lenient on letting me take off, go to a coon hunt. All thing I had to do was call and tell him, hey, I'm not going to be there tomorrow. And he say, well, that's fine. Just go do what you got to do. Go chase your dreams. And I tell you, the support of people around me has been beyond great. When I got home from the World Hunt, I was very shocked. My mom, my dad, Tyler Compton, I had good friends that were at my house, and they threw a surprise party for me. They had a cake, and it was just it was a pretty cool deal.
Yeah.
I never in my I always knew I had a supportive group around me, but them seeing that right there just absolutely just made my complete week. Winning that World Championship was awesome, but I tell you, coming home to something like that, it makes that feeling even better. It's a feeling that you'll never get. So I'm forever thankful for that. For the people that supported me, that's been behind me, and I'm excited for the friendships that I'm to make in the future. And definitely gotta thank all the people, the companies that sponsor me and help me out. Moonshiner Lights, Donald Maggard, Big Show Game Calls, Josh Michaelis, Okie Dog Supply, and Mule Hunting Clothing, Mike and Sandy. I tell you, they're awesome people. Everybody that helps me out, it's a team effort for sure. And it's one of those things where I can sit here and I could tell you all the people that support me, but I'd be here forever. And so for that, I'm very thankful. I'm very blessed to have been able to live these experiences, that I've lived at a young age so far, and I can just only hope and pray that there's more in store for me, and hopefully you guys will one of these days be interviewing me again or over something else, So that's the only thing that I can hope for, and I'm very thankful for them too. So.
Well, Lane, I'll jump in here and say that we want to congratulate you and that you are a terrific ambassador for our sport, young man. As I've listened to you talk today and profess your faith and your love for your family and your friends and your respect for those who've helped you and your attitude toward the game. This is the kind of thing that we're trying to portray in this podcast, that we all need to step up our game. We all need to take account of our own actions and our own responsibilities and look at our sport, how great it is to us, how important it is to us, and how much we need to promote it, yes, to preserve it, absolutely, and to protect it going forward so that more young men like you can come along and enjoy it and build their own dreams through hound hunting. But I've just been tremendously encouraged and entertained, and so appreciate you coming on. What do you say, Chris?
What else is there to say? I mean, it's just you wrapped it up right there. You hit all the talking points that I would have made, Steve. Yeah, I got nothing after that wrap up. That was good.
Well, Lane, thank you so much for coming on. Wish you and Emmy the best in the upcoming PKC World Hunt and next spring as you go after that second truck. And just keep the pressure on, brother. You're doing good.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been an honor. It really has, and I appreciate all the kind words you guys have just had there, and I thank you guys more than you guys owe. Thank you for doing what you do for this sport, and having this podcast is awesome. Because it gives people a chance to talk to people that maybe they didn't know and learn more about this sport, and you guys do an awesome job. So I want to thank you guys as well.
Thank you, Lane.
Well, thank you, Chris. Are we ready?
You wrap it up, buddy.
Lane, we have a custom here on the Houndsman XP podcast. We've got I think there's an old cold coon track running down one of those creeks there in those Oklahoma hills. Chris has got a blue tick named Jazz. She's pretty salty. She's a pretty good hound. I got an old pup here, an old Lone Pine bred pup that's just 14 months old, but he thinks he's good. And you got a world champion. Now, you need to give us a handicap. There's no doubt about it. Maybe at least 2 coons. But now, one thing for sure, when we cut these dogs loose, I want you to follow your hound, and I'm going to follow mine.